Hello guys, in this video we are gonna increase our knowledge about functions. So let's start by defining a function. We define functions by first putting the keyword function and then space. Then you put a name for your function. It can be anything. Let's name it print all odd numbers. Or let's say print odd numbers. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so our function's name is print odd numbers, and then after putting name to your function, you need to use these parentheses to make it a function, and after that you should have these curly braces. So this is basically how you define a function. You put the keyword function, you you give a name to a function. It's kind of like you are giving a name to a variable, so we can name our variable anything we want, right? After putting the let keyword, you can just put whatever you want. Let's put abcd. I mean, it's just random, equals, let's say, 5. So this is a valid variable name. It can be anything. It can be meaningless. I have seen some variables named like g, t. I mean, name it whatever you want, but make sure to name your variables that you can understand them later. Whatever, let's get back to our topic, and this is basically how we define a function. So here's the thing: when you run the code, this function will not automatically run. So yes, we defined a function, but it's gonna stay here. It won't be, the code won't run this function as it reads it. What I mean is, if I put let a equals 5 in here, this will be automatically done. A will automatically contain 5. But when you define a function, that function won't automatically run. And to run a function, you need to type the name of the function, print odd numbers, and then put parentheses. So here, basically, we are calling to this function. So in here, we defined our function, right? Okay, and then in here we call to our function, so we want our code to execute the function. So what happens when the code sees this? Basically, it runs the code that is inside this curly brackets. Okay, so basically, whatever you put inside this curly brackets, it will run. So let's put console.log hello world, save it. As you can see, it runs here. But if I comment this out, when I save it, it is not printed. The hello world is not printed. But if I put, let's say, console.log hello world to see that our code reads these lines, yes, we print the hello world in here, right? But we didn't the hello world that is inside this function because we didn't call this function yet. But if I uncomment this, if I delete these comments, when I save it, we have two outputs as a hello world. So this function, this statement basically calls to this function, and we run the code that is inside. Okay, so let's change the structure of our function so that we are going to print some odd numbers. So we have covered the for loop, right? So let's declare a for loop. Let I equals 0, I is less than, let's say, 50, I plus plus. So I'm gonna print the every odd number that's in between 0 and 50. So, and we need to have an if statement. Oops, I, if we divide I by 2, and if we get 0, that means it is even. Therefore, we need to put parentheses in here and put exclamation mark in here so that we are gonna print the odd numbers console.log I. So basically, in this function, we need to print odd numbers. Yes, we do. From 1 to 49, we print every odd number there is. And we can utilize the functions by just shortening the length of our code. What I mean is, if I want to use this code twice, then I should have written this for loop 2 times, right? Here, here. If I want to use it 3 times, my code should have looked like this, right? But because we put these statements inside the function, we can actually do the same task by writing one line. As you can see now, we print all the odd numbers that is in between 1 and 0 and 50, and then we once again print every odd number in between 0 and 50. So as you can see, our functions, this function shortened our code, which is better. It added some more readability, which is also a plus. That's why I just use the functions. And one more thing, functions. So we have covered this in if-else statement. What I mean is this. So if true, so let a equals 5. So we know that we can't access this a by here, right? We have covered this in our if-else statements. It's just like the global and local variable. We can't access this a outside the curly brackets. So that also applies for the functions too. So if I declare a variable in here, let a equals 0, we cannot access that a in here. As you can see, when I save my code, it gives out an error. Even after calling for the function, we still cannot actually access to that variable. As you can see, we executed these comments because they come before our print statement, but when the code executes this print statement, it just generates an error. That's another thing to know. And if you have any question, please leave a comment. And if you didn't quite get what I wrote in here, please leave a comment. I can explain it to you. This is basically just, in this if statement, we basically just tested whether a number is odd or even. So this is a syntax that you need to know. The remainder operator 2 equals to 0. You need to know this because I think you are going to use it in your codes a lot in the future. So this is for this video. If you have any question, please leave a comment and have a great day.